Welcome to the writing channel at Vlogitorial. My name is Elizabeth Ann Atkins, and I want to talk to you about how to write love scenes that sizzle. A lot of people tell me that they read the love scenes in my novels as sort of foreplay to their partner because it's exciting and it conveys a lot of emotion and power and sensuality. But there's an art to writing love scenes that can convey that kind of feeling. And it's not just about writing about a tangle of arms and legs and bodies and sweat and breathing and all that stuff. It's not so much about the anatomy, which is very important, of course. However, the feelings, the magnetism, the magic behind the physical connections, that's what makes the love scene so captivating and powerful. And so it's very important to capture those feelings early on in the story to show that these two people have a connection prior to getting intimate. And so one of the most fascinating things in life is when out of the blue you can meet someone or encounter someone and you have these overwhelming feelings of attraction, magnetism, a connection that's in your soul. It's inexplicable, but you don't question it because it feels so beautiful and powerful and real. It feels authentic, it feels safe, it feels euphoric. And so capturing that with words as a writer is one of my favorite things to do because it's really difficult. If you try to pinpoint why you like someone, even if it's your friend, your best buddy, try to pinpoint why you have this deep connection with this person, it's not always easy to put that into words. So as a writer, I just absolutely love the challenge of finding the perfect words to convey that. And as a spiritual person, I believe we all have connections on a soul level. And therefore, when you meet someone who's deeply connected with you on a soul level, it's so electric and so overwhelming and exciting. That is the stuff of amazing storytelling because you want to feel the drama, you want to feel the sensuality, you want to feel the magnetism that's pulling these two people together. So in Husbands Incorporated, the main character, Venus Roman, she encounters a man who's younger than her. She's out at the opera. And just totally out of the blue, she gives her tickets to the usher, and she's not even looking at him, and then she looks up at him, and it's like, oh, she's just stunned. So later on, I don't want to give it away, but if there's a love scene between these two, you need to have already established that there's an attraction, the sizzling hot attraction between these two people. So let me show you how this very first encounter is described in the book, okay? His eyes blazed at her. Of course I describe what he looks like, but okay, he's gorgeous. But that's not the important thing. You can be gorgeous and be a jerk, or have an ice-cold heart. So that doesn't really matter for right now. It's the feeling. His eyes blazed at her. His unblinking stare radiated disbelief, awe, and captivation. His lips parted. He looked like his breath was caught in his throat, like he wanted to speak, but was stunned into stillness and silence. Exactly as I feel, Venus thought. Oh my God. Electricity crackled from her head to her toes. Goosebumps danced over her skin. An odd sensation fluttered inside her chest. like a huge flower was suddenly blooming. A tone like her ears were ringing muted the chatter around them. Everything seemed to fade to gray in contrast to this technicolor masterpiece of male perfection. But he was far more than gorgeous. Venus could not look away from this man's gaze as he devoured her. She closed her eyes, but still she saw his face, and she felt him. Her entire being was saturated with a deep knowing. He's mine forever. She opened her eyes and laughed. He was awestruck, studying her. The tiny spokes and textures of his irises were spinning like a kaleidoscope of gold, topaz, bronze, and copper, creating a new, marvelous vision for her to behold with each second as he gazed with almost supernatural intensity. A delightful chill tickled her skin, yet she suddenly felt hot, and she saw flashes of gold. It was subtle, almost subliminal, but it was there, in her periphery, around him, around us. Okay, so that establishes there's like this really supernatural, crazy energy around them. And so in another chapter, I describe it from his point of view, which is very similar, but everybody has different ways of putting things into words. So you get to see that. And then if it culminates in a love scene, then you draw back on that same tone and description of how they initially felt and how it's just out of this world once the physical culmination occurs. So I really like to show the spiritual connection between people. And in White Chocolate, my first novel, I have Taylor James and Julian DuPont, her first love. When they make love, it's very deep, very powerful. So here's a brief excerpt to show they're in the middle of the act, and I'm not going to read all the provocative words. You can read those yourself. But I just want to convey the spiritual connection here. And this communion of souls promised to wash away the pain and suffering of the past and sweep her into Elysium. Julian moaned as if to savor every sensation. The heavy, sweet incense of burning passion enshrouded them as Julian channeled Taylor into a garden blooming with vibrant color and velvet textures and sheer bliss. Somehow, this experience was far more powerful than their teenaged rapture. Now, their bodies and minds were more mature, more seasoned by disappointment, more appreciative of the purity of love and commitment. The emotions gushing through Taylor, spinning like a funnel and pulling every morsel of her being into it, were as intense as the waves of pleasure that had consumed her moments earlier. She gazed up into the brown velvet of Julian's eyes. Yes, my soulmate is home. We're one now. Our spirits are swirling in the air above us as we float into nirvana. I love that. That's the feeling we all want, right? So then, in Twilight, in the love scene that goes over several chapters because it was really intense, and it see how far into the book it is? This far. This so the story's almost over by the time they get to it. But anyway, it's similar because they've had this burning passion for all this time through all the conflict in the story. So then we finally get to her. The woman's name is Simone and the man is Sonny. Okay. He envisioned himself a molten flow of blood and breath bubbling beneath her. The pressure and throb of his arousal was excruciating, but not as painful of the burn of defiance and rage rumbling through him. Never had he felt so vulnerable or weak or powerless. No one drove his boat or controlled his body, especially in bed. "Simone," he said, "kiss me now." Her eyes glowed with playful refusal. The metaphysical power radiating from her created an otherworldly energy force, humming around them. He viewed this moment as if God were endowing them with their own private twilight, bathing them in a pastel kaleidoscope of spiritual cosmic energy that would forever change their senses of touch, taste, smell, and sight. Yes, each beam of red, orange, magenta, gold, and lavender dancing around them, charging the air, was melding their blood and bones and breath into one, searing their spirits into a swirl of light and golden sparks, so bright it blinded him, made him cover his eyes with his hands. He wanted to submit to its power, but he cringed ever so slightly back into the blankets with terror over its consequences. It brought to mind the Brazilian word that meant both love and death. It was nothing short of magic. And they hadn't even consummated the act yet. See? And that conveys the terror of the vulnerability of succumbing to these intense emotions and experiences. So I just love writing about that kind of stuff. And I hope you can read these books and get the full story so that you can fully appreciate the impact of these scenes, because they come after the buildup of all the drama and conflict. So I also, if you're trying to write love scenes, I hope that has helped you to understand the importance of foreshadowing the feelings, the connections, the magnetism, well before anybody takes their clothes off. So, happy reading and happy writing.